Hello, beautiful person. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chu, and today we are going to be going over 6 secrets that Southside uses for super hard-hitting trap beats. We're gonna get right into this. Let me let you know what the 6 steps are, and then let's jump into it. The first step is minimalistic melody. The second step is, oh, and by the way, the melody has to be minimalistic, and we'll talk about this more later because Southside takes the entire composition, including the drums and arrangement, into consideration before he starts. I've noticed this in his cookups, and that's why it tends to be minimalistic when he starts, but it doesn't end that way. Step 2 is hard-hitting trap drums, duh. Step 3, we've done this before, and I just like to rehash it whenever it's important, whenever it's relevant. Step 3 is the TM88 school of hi-hat programming. Love that. Step 4 is do not complicate the 808s. Step 5 is complement the beat with melody and harmony where necessary. And then step 6 is send it to the engineer or mixing if you know a little bit about the production engineering side, which hopefully you've picked up a little bit just from being a viewer of this channel at this point. So the only other thing I have to say is grab my 14 drum kit. It's linked down below. It's free. It's the best drum kit on the internet. That's not the centerfold drum kit. That one's the best. Check it out down below. That's there as well. The landing page is going to do a better job of explaining it than I can. And also check out my Discord. It's the cleanest, safest Discord for internet producers by a goddamn country mile. We'd love to have you there. Show you some love. Come join us. Without too much more talking, let's get into it. All right, so step 1 is the minimalistic melody. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up an FL key so we can get started on this melody. We'll transfer it over to another instrument, but I like to make all of my melodies starting out in the piano. It allows me to hear all the tonality. So the key here is to just make something that is, of course, dark sounding. We all know at this point it's just with half steps. So one of the best ways to know you're using half steps well is to at least build an outline of a minor chord and then work off of that using the half step here. There's other half steps, but this is like the most common one in trap, ATL trap music, right? And it's just, it has really nice dissonance. That could dead ass be it, bro. That's what's crazy. You see what, like, I'm actually just, to make a damn point, I'm just gonna keep it at that. But we're in B minor, so I'm just gonna add a few bass, like literally just the one bass note actually. Yeah, this shit is fun, bro. Cannot stand that dust, bro. I don't know. So we talked about fundamental character on the Sith newsletter earlier this week. So if you're not a part of the Sith, it's free to join. Join down below. That's my audio engineering newsletter. Check it out. But we talked about fundamental character, which is the point that you want to EQ. I'm not going to explain it. Just join the Sith so you can learn engineering. It's good stuff. You want to join. So let's do a high pass. And then let's do steep 6. So step 2 is hard hitting drums, baby. We just like, let's just get moving, man. And you already know, I mean, I'm gonna use the 14 drum kit, but I always get the kick from centerfold, bro. The God kick is just my favorite, dog. It's my favorite. And I think the main reason it's my favorite, I'll explain it in a second, besides the fact that it hits so hard, bro. It's just good. All right, let's go to 14. I love this Southside snare when I'm doing anything Southside related, bro. It's accurate, bro. But I think today I'm gonna layer it with a clap though. to give it a little bit more texture and like make it sound a little bit more different than every other Southside type beat I've been making lately. But before I move on, bro, I want to let you know particularly why I think this God kick is amazing for my workflow particularly is because, let me see if I can pull up the new preset pack I'm working on. Alpha 3 is dropping this coming Monday, so the price for centerfold is going to go up because I'm going to finish out this pack, and there's a couple more special things I'm adding too. I dropped it on the newsletter today, but I love the Clipper preset, and there's more than that. That's just the one that I'm showing right now in the kit. That's the only one I've added in there, but man, it just punches so well with every drum sound I have, and that's all stock. That's all stock, bro. That's crazy. Okay, so now this brings us into step 3, which is the TM88 School of Hi-Hat Programming. So I like to give TM88 his credit when it's deserved. I'm going to do a video essay on him soon. I'm going to start doing way more tutorials on his style in particular. Long story short, from a lot of like watching interviews and just paying attention to them over time, I've observed that TM88 and Southside you'll see him say this, like TM88 had a lot of influence on Southside's production, particularly the way he manipulates sounds. And that's also very relevant when it comes to like hi-hats. Southside was always really good at making dope hi-hats, dope drum patterns in general, but he's on record saying TM88 really like influenced him to do like way more glitches, and TM88 in general is like a pioneer of that type of sound in modern trap music. He just is, like, a lot of people know that. So if you know, you know. He's the GOAT. He's literally like the GOAT. One of the most, I hate to call him underrated because he's pretty well recognized, but I still personally think he should be more recognized than he is. I'm biased because learning about him changed my life, but I like him a lot. So the strategy that TM88 is really good at using, and I don't know if he knows music theory he knows the terminology of music theory on this deep of a level, but he's definitely doing this technique, it's called drum syncopation. And it's when the events in a certain instrument or a certain type of pattern you're making are triggered by some other instrument. So if that doesn't make sense, let's just talk about it through an actual example, right? So let's grab a hi-hat. That's good. Make sure our loop points are off. Fucking goddamn loop points. So here, like for example, I would want this hi-hat to be syncopated to that next clap. So what I mean by that is I want it to lead up to create almost like a sound of a swelling sound into that clap, right? So we could do that by creating a stutter like this. Nah, that's probably fine. Right? That's cool. That's really cool. So let's see where else we could do some syncopation. So we could do something here where it's like a little bit less, right? So that's syncopated to that kick. So when that kick hits, it's syncopating another glitch. We could bring that down and pitch it. Oh, that's hard, bro. And like the Haas effect almost makes it sound like it's syncopated on by that kick, but then syncopated off by that bounce clap, bro. That's crazy. It damn near is. That's hard. All right, cool. And then like you don't always have to use syncopation, but syncopation is a good concept to understand. Even if you can't like deeply understand what the music theory behind it is, it actually doesn't matter. Just understand that like you don't want your hi-hat patterns to just, well, it doesn't really matter that deeply, right? You could be random if you want to. It'll work out too. But if you want to plan your work, this is a good way to do it so that you're not just like hoping for the best. With syncopation, it will make sense because syncopation is an actual musical concept. Like it works because that's how our brains just perceive shit, right? And that's why we have like an entire word and concept for it within music theory. So you could be random, but I recommend syncopation. I use syncopation. I know some of my favorite producers like Metro Boomin, Wonder Girl, TM88, Southside, they are using syncopation, whether they're able to say it or not. Nah, I want that to be like more, almost like it's syncopating into that next kick that's gonna drop. And then you can always flush it out by just cloning the pattern and then adding a basic two-step and turning it down a little bit. But you still get that bounce from that first one. And that's really key, in my opinion, from what I've understood. So now we're gonna get into step 4, which is don't complicate the 808 at all. So let's just jump right into that, right? First of all, we're gonna create a new pattern for the 808, and we're gonna grab we could probably do one of these spins. Yeah, that spins variant 6. A lot of y'all tell me it's the best one. I'm not gonna lie, I see why. There's something about it. It's like they're all spins 808s, but for some reason this one is just like a standout. I like to tweak it like that. Just turn up the out, turn up a little bit of that boost. But yes, so by not overcomplicating the 808, we mean just use the damn root note to make sure you have a good 808 pattern to start with, right? If it's good, solid, bouncy, from there, then if you know a little bit of like how to use music theory to make unique 808s, or if you just want to try your hand at it and hope that you can actually tell what the key is, then you go from there. But never do anything melodically speaking with your 808 until you've got it laid down with a good bounce on that root note to make sure it's in key and actually doing musically competent things as a percussive instrument, because before anything, the 808 is a percussive instrument. Don't get it twisted. It's not really, it's more of providing body and like that depth which appeals to the emotion. You could be melodic with it, and that's the advantage of it, but that's not the primary purpose. It is a percussive instrument. It's a drum. And so you have to, it's just because it has it has like tonality to it, you have to make sure it's in key, which is why like it being on that root note is way more important than if you can create melody with it. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that makes sense. Let's do it. So I think we were in B minor and this is tuned to C, so we should be good. Yeah. I promise you I could leave it like that. I've heard beats that are just that. I've heard platinum beats that are just that, bro. But the thing I like to do is then come fill it in. Like another thing I should have said is I like to make sure I'm always following the kick, just because I've heard like some of the best producers that I consider to be really, really groundbreaking say the same thing. Take a Day Trip was really the one, when they said it, I was like, damn, these guys have produced for Lil Nas X. You know, like they go from pop stars to R&B to hip hop to all of it. And they're saying I just follow the kick. Like I never overcomplicate it. They'll create all these complex melodies and stuff. They'll do all this sound design, but then they'll be like, just follow the kick with the 808, nothing complicated. So Wonder Girl says something similar. And there was another producer, maybe it was Boy Wonder, that says something basically the same exact way. So best way to make sure that 808 is also good is just follow the kick. If you have a kick, you don't necessarily need to use a kick. I like to use kicks though. It's all stylistic. Kicks are definitely still in fashion though. Okay, so now we can get into step 5, which is coming back to the melody, considering everything we now have, which is, it is a complete beat. And now we want to complement this complete beat with more melody and harmony where it makes sense. So what I'm going to do is solo the melody, add something, then come back and listen to all the drums and see what it sounds like. And then we'll kind of rinse and repeat that process so you can see what I really mean. And really, I might not even have to solo the melody for the first few. And that might be all we actually need. So let's just come into that pattern. We'll go back to flex, I'm pretty sure. Okay, cool. So let's get into the last and final step, which would be, for most producers, is to just send it to the engineer. I know producers like Metro and Southside have engineers that they really, really trust and they are really, really locked into. And that really helps with getting the sound that you hear on the end. But there's also producers, and that's really good, actually. That's really good. But then there's also other producers that just understand production engineering and had learned it and picked it up enough to be something that they just continuously practice. And that would be someone like Boy Wonder, your Wonder Girls, and people like that. So send it to the engineer or do production engineering, which is this step. So I know production engineering. I am teaching you production engineering with basically every video on this channel and all the workshops. Become a member, by the way. So let's just get into how I would mix this down. BT dubs, I don't ever have like all the melodies I have in a beat play at the same time. Rarely. They really help with arrangement. So I should have said that in that last step. By complementing I'm not so much complimenting the melody as I am complimenting the entire beat and kind of complementing the entire vibe. So that's like the really big takeaway you want to get from that. But like, let's get into mixing, bro. So I'm going to start. Yeah, let's just bring everything into the mixer first. And then I'm going to do a little bit of signal flow so I can mute stuff with one click. And then we can get into it because it's about to be fun. Route to this track only. And then we'll rename this drum bus. Melody bus. I might have these playing at the same time. I mean, they could all play at the same time, though, because it was minimal enough. We kept it minimal enough, but it's so vibey. Spins 808 tends to have like a really thick kick transient on the low end at least, and that's why people tend to like it, and even more so why people use it and say they don't need a kick, because it's pretty accurate. You don't really, because of how powerful that transient is. But just EQing right around that area just lets it sit much better with my kick, and I just gotta level that out. It's crazy how like much mixing can really change shit, bro. Like, thank God for the concept, bro. I used to be dumbfounded what to do to make my beat sound good. Nigga, it's just mixing. Like, it's literally just mixing. But I let people convince me that mixing wasn't important, and so I couldn't figure it out. It's like, no, it's literally just mixing, bro. People who say mixing isn't important better hope they meet up with a good engineer. They start getting placements so they can meet up with a good engineer. Otherwise, you need to learn it. Or you're not gonna make money, I can guarantee you. Because unless you're just that good. No, because if you know how to level and make your shit sound good, you know how to mix whether you know or not. So ain't no way you can get past it. Anybody who thinks you can is delusional. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm ready to say it. Delusional niggas with 20 subscribers talking about, I know what I'm talking, ain't got no placements, ain't got no money from your shit. Talking about, you're overthinking it. No, your shit is overly ass, nigga. Learn to mix. Those be the niggas DMing me SoundCloud links, bro. Talking about listen to my shit and I block them and they get mad and come here and spam me with comments, bro. Get the fuck out my face. All right, super fun stuff. So let's just recap it real quick so you can see how simple this entire process really is. But you do have to practice it to get good at it. Minimalistic melody, that's step one. Again, you have to take into consideration that the melody is not going to be the only thing you do. I used to get so caught up in trying to make the melody super complex that by the time I got to the beat, I would either realize it was way too much and then try to like just force it in, or I'd be just worn out from trying to make the melody and I just would lose all passion for the entire beat. So minimalistic melody just plays a lot of important roles in like helping to make sure that your creativity is like purposeful, if that makes sense. Step two, hard hitting trap drums, self-explanatory. 14 drum kit, Centerfold drum kit, go check them out. Step three, the TM88 school of hi-hat programming, just syncopation. Have there be reason and logic to why you are programming drum patterns in general. Anything in your music, there should be purpose. Everything should have a relationship to another thing. One of the best ways to do that, to make use of that concept, is by having your hi-hats just interact with other drum events that are happening in your pattern. Step four, don't overcomplicate the 808. Bro, root note is going to be your best friend. If you want to get fancy, learn about fifths, sevenths, but it's really not that big a deal. If you know how to program it on the root note, octave is more than enough to really trick niggas into thinking you're doing something more than you really are. Trust me. Learn some slides, slide to the octave, bump up to the octave. You'll be good. Step five, complement the beat with more melody. That does not mean overcomplicate the melody. That just means where can you add more melodies using the notes you already have to make the beat more interesting, whether it's in actual melodic composition, in arrangement, or finding something else to complement the drums. I notice particularly it's helpful for arrangement just because it's like, it's nice to hear like the melody change up, but like in a sensible way, right? Like to another instrument that matches the vibe. So that's a really important part of that. Don't pick random instruments and add stuff for the sake of adding stuff. Make sure it fits the vibe first, and then also make sure it's complementing the beat in general. Don't ever add anything that doesn't serve purpose, right? Does it make the beat better? If yes, add it. If no, toss it and don't give it a second thought. If you don't believe me, go just listen to any Rick Rubin interview or go read his book, The Creative Act. It's really good, and it will clearly explain to you that all that shit is a waste of time. If you want to debate with somebody, don't debate with me because I learned it from Rick Rubin. Go argue with Rick Rubin, please. Don't argue with me. And then step six, send the beat to the engineer so he can do the production engineering, which would be mixing and then arrangement, or you can learn to do it yourself. Be sure to sub. Drop a like on this to let YouTube know you like the stuff in general, and I'll see you in the next one. I love you so much. Thank you for the support. We're going crazy. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.